All right, we are recording season 4,
New season.
new season.
I like how you titled it New Year, New Me. I'm here too.
The me is the we.
Oh, like the general
Yeah, yeah,
me.
yeah.
We're
So
speaking to me, to you.
yeah, we're gonna try new things. There's not gonna be a question. I think we're gonna try it.
I think? Question mark? Yeah, let's shake it up this year. Welcome to Princess and Scoundrel, where we take you along our scrappily ever after from Fantasyland to Tatooine and everything in between. I am Sarah.
And I'm Steven.
And it, like you said, is season 4 of this little dream of ours
Yeah,
that it's crazy to think we are embarking on our 4th year of doing this.
that is pretty wild to think.
But let me say this. While I feel like we don't know what we're doing, and whenever we come sit down to have a conversation, and we put thought and we build outlines and stuff like that. And I think we may shake things up this year. I think back to like our very first episode that we recorded, and I want to say we re-recorded that thing like 4 times.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
There are definitely still episodes very recently too where we've had to re-record them because we're just like, that was not, the vibes were not there. We didn't bring the energy or hit the things we wanted to say.
But I think that's the thing. That's the finding our groove, right?
Mhm.
Because there's things that we kind of like want to talk about and things that are just kind of in our nature to talk about, and so we try to walk that fine line. But yes, I totally agree that from when we first started to now, I feel like 1,000 times more comfortable in front of a camera, behind a microphone.
No more buttery flaky goodness.
Yeah.
If you've never seen that, it was it's just like a YouTube thing, right? Where it was this older couple and they were filming a
It's
commercial.
like behind the scenes type of thing.
And the husband's line was like now I can't say it, buttery flaky goodness. And it's how many times? 30, 40 times. Can't get it right. And the wife's like, just do it. Say your line. And then she tries to say it. She messes up. I feel like we're moving slowly past that, and it feels good. It feels real good.
I think I could see the usefulness the usefulness of using like the red leather, yellow leather type of thing to be able to enunciate your words.
Yeah.
Because the feeling is to kind of like curl in and then you end up mumbling what you're trying to say.
I think,
or like your mind is going a lot faster than what you're saying.
When we're on camera and we're talking, and I don't know why my hands are clammy right now, but we're just talking about how much better we are at this, and I'm like, but whenever it's just me and you having a conversation,
because it's the first time this year,
and we took quite some time off. We took over a full month off of the podcast
because we were busy.
Not because we built a new set.
No, not
which we did last year. Like we made some changes.
We've always got an excuse in the pocket, so don't worry about that.
Just right there. No, but when it's you and me talking, and it's kind of tough because when it's you and me talking without lights and cameras and recording and all of this stuff, we do mumble or we cut halfway into a conversation or we restart a conversation that we had 3 hours ago as if we were still having it.
Well, I think that's the thing is sometimes I don't have to say, oh, we're continuing from here. It's just a continuation of that conversation. And then you already know where I'm going because I remembered it or something.
Right.
But then also too, you know me. So it's like, okay, where is he going? Okay, yeah, I know where.
Right. But when we're having a conversation for other people to like
be a part
consume, that's why sometimes when you get going, I'm like, well, hold on a second. Let's go back. So I think we've learned how to have a conversation for podcasts, but I also want to make sure, and we are authentic. Like this is who we are, and the things that we're saying are always genuine and true to us. But I think it's okay for us to be like a little more silly and a little more us in and looser in the conversations that we have versus like reading from an outline where it's like, here's all the things you need to know about patents in the parks. That's a nice little callback.
Oh man. I think it was a great episode, though.
So what are
So that they, well, no,
oh,
I'm gonna interject
okay.
because since then, I've seen in other Disney-centered uh, channels
Mm,
them talk about patents. So I'm gonna say there was something there when we initially did it. I think if we would have stayed with it, we probably would have been like ahead of the curve, but we didn't because it was such a horrible episode.
no, it was a really good episode. I think it was like our second or third
Because
episode.
we basically talked about the
Batu
bounty hunt.
Bounty
The
Hunt.
bounty
Yeah,
hunt.
we talked about a lot of things if you weren't here at the very beginning when we were talking about it, it was like patents that Disney had put in for and what it meant for the future of the parks and speculating what that could be. It was a fun episode. It's just one, I don't think anybody
The
people
juice wasn't worth the squeeze, I think.
people still weren't like aren't watching us now, but they really weren't watching us back then. But then also we didn't know how to deliver that information in a fun way. So part of it was like you reading patents.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, how do we spice that up a little bit more?
It was good ASMR, like put you to bed type of thing.
Yeah, it was nice. Oh, that's what we should do. Just
Start
put
doing
that
ASMR
episode-
stuff.
Just listen to that episode to go to bed.
Yeah.
So question for you.
Okay.
What are we talking about today?
I mean, I thought we were talking about kind of the new year. We're kind of talking about new year going forward, but I think last year we kind of talked about the year prior, kind of like a look back.
Right. I think last year's was looking back and looking forward. Like kind of, we don't do resolutions. We don't set like super hard goals, like definite goals or
Putting
smart
expectations.
goals. Right. We just like to set intentions of like, I would like to move in this direction for this thing. And so we did that, not our very first year because we didn't really know what we were doing. But we did it the start of season 2, and both of us came with some very detailed intentions that we had. And then last year we took a look and saw like, how did we do with those? And then we set some new ones. And so I have compiled the lists.
All right, I'm ready.
I don't know that you remember.
No, I don't.
Do you want to? Okay.
So, and this was very intentional because
Yeah.
you said, hey, you want to go back and look at it? I was like, no, because I want you to go back and like look back and see what our intentions were. That way I could be like, oh my gosh, give like more of a raw reaction to it.
A raw reaction. So what do you remember from your intentions? Let's go through that.
I think I wanted to focus more on myself.
Okay.
And kind of, I think it was something about just more focus on myself, seeing the things that I liked more. And
very good. Yeah. Correct.
Yes.
It was to take care of yourself.
Okay.
And that was one of the new ones that you set last year. So that was a 2024 intention, not one of your initial ones.
Okay.
That was really the only new one you set. The other ones were like kind of carryovers from before.
Okay.
But how do you feel like you've done taking care of yourself?
I feel I've done pretty well. I started my like workout, my fitness journey, doing the running and stuff. Like I was very, very, very strict on it at the beginning of the year. I kind of loosened up like as I got more comfortable with it. But it was like there was this goal of the marathon kind of like looming over me. And I was able to accomplish that. So
yeah,
I think I did really well.
When you say loosened up, when did that happen?
Well, I mean, because like at the beginning, I was like working out probably five days a week.
You were working out a lot, but I also think you weren't.
Because I was working out and running it,
Yeah.
So.
But you were working out and running the entire year. I think the difference was your diet. Whereas before you weren't getting like the proper balance of nutrition. And so you got really, really skinny and ripped. And then towards the end of the year, you're like, oh, I actually need like protein and I need to look at my macros. And I don't know what all these like scoop things that you do, but you do a lot to make sure that I don't know what it is, but I know that
that's the future. You just like little droplets of water on the scoops and you're good to go.
Done. No, but I mean, you held with it.
Yeah.
The entire year. like the entire year. So don't say that you fell off because you didn't.
Well, I mean, I think towards the end, and I think the hardest thing, and this is like, I will say it is the hardest thing to do, is because we travel,
Mm,
that you cannot stay consistent, or it's very, very difficult to stay consistent. And
right.
that's where I think towards the end of the year, we were traveling a lot more. And so my regimen of like working out, running, or food, it was just kind of thrown off. And even though I was like able to find alternatives to like what I normally ate, like my routine,
Mm,
it still made it more difficult. And then two is like, I wasn't going to sacrifice like a good time to
right.
like starve myself type of thing.
Yeah. I think where it got hard was we traveled a lot throughout the entire year, but you as you were running, you were kind of just running to run in the beginning of the year, and then once you started training for the marathon, you had specific distances you had to run or times you needed to run on certain days of the week. And so towards the end of the year, because you were training for the marathon that just you already did it, you spoiler, you ran the marathon. Some of your runs were like 2 3 hours long, and that's hard to do when you're traveling.
Yeah.
If you were just going for like a 30-minute run, you would go do that. You know, if we're staying at Pop Century, you ran around Hourglass Lake a few times. But yeah, those longer runs I think is where, because you were like doing an intensive training.
Yeah, I definitely think that if I would have been, and it's more like hindsight, right? And
Yeah.
I could, I've told friends, they're like, oh, how do you feel you did? I was like, I think I did great. I'm proud of myself. Um, I could always Monday morning quarterback myself and say, oh, if I would have done this, I could have done that. Um, but it's one of those things, like we were traveling, so my training was broken up, and I
Mm.
kind of like modified it to to fit our schedule. But again, I was still able to accomplish my goal. So I'm
Yeah.
still proud of myself.
I think like this is the healthiest that you have been, and you've stayed really consistent with it, and I feel like you've made it a habit to take care of yourself like at least from a physical standpoint, like taking care of yourself with your running. You set a huge goal with that, which
Yeah.
you actually didn't set the goal of running the marathon in our intentions episode last year.
Yeah. No, I think it was kind of like in the back of my mind, because it was like, oh, I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And so it was like back there. And as I was getting more fit, I was kind of like, maybe this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
And I kind of like started kind of cementing it in my head. Like, I think it's time. I think it's time. Because like you're saying, like, I think this is probably the most fit I've been my entire life. I've
Mhm.
always been a small guy, but never like a fit guy. And
Right.
so I think this is like the first time that that's ever happened.
I think you've done really well. I think you've crushed it. But I don't think taking care of yourself is just a physical thing, because you mentioned like doing more of the things that you enjoy and all of that stuff. So how do you feel like you've done in that aspect?
In the sense of, I
And
was
like
able
be honest, because I know I'm your wife. So that's
well, so I think maybe in my head, I was thinking I wanted to do more of the me selfish things, and more of like playing video games, or just kind of like doing what I want to do type of things.
Mhm.
And I think in the last, probably this year, I would say, like, I've kind of picked up a game, and I kind of told you like, hey, I think I
This year
need
being
20,
2025.
2025.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I think I need some time to play video games with my friends, because
Yeah.
that is my de-stressor. Um,
I mean,
well,
is it
yes,
though?
but I think the thing is like, I get it out, like whatever, like frustrations and anger, I get it out on the game, and not
Yeah.
on. But again, I was able to train, and there was times that I was like, I need to go do this. Like, so I kind of had said, hey, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do X, Y,
Yeah.
because I need to go run, I need to work out or something like that. And you were able to pick up the slack wherever we needed it. So
Mm. Yeah, you were very disciplined in that, and I think it's a good thing whenever you do get time to play video games, because that is how you. It's not really relax, but that's just how you kind of shove the mental load of everything else that you have going on like away, and you just get to play.
yeah,
And I think it's healthy for you to do that, and I think you had some games that you played throughout the year, like you played Outlaws and you've played a few other games, but these games where you I don't know what
I think
y'all
there's more
do.
competitive. Like I need some of
Yeah.
that competitiveness. Like the single player games that is just like a story mode. It's nice and is nice to look at,
Yeah.
but I think I need that competition.
Yeah.
So
So I think it's been good for you.
yeah,
So you feel like you've taken better care of yourself?
I'm starting to. Yeah,
Okay.
that's gonna be the rollover for this year. Is just like continue
Noted.
to like just take care of my the inside now, the inside
Yeah.
of my head.
That was your main one, and then physical health was obviously one of the big ones, and that was one that you and I shared. So for me, I would say I did better last year than I typically do. Um, I would get out there and I ran for like 2 months. I was a runner, and you kept telling me, you're like, "You're a runner," and I'm like, "I'm not a runner yet." And you even bought me like really nice shoes, and then I think like a week or two after that, I was like, "I'm done. I don't like this." Um, but I did enjoy it, and I do think running, you can speak more to it than I can, but running is good for like your mental. I don't know if it's good for your mental health, but it definitely gives you time to think. So
Yeah,
it could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing. But I did enjoy it. It's just I think it was one really difficult for you and I individually to find time to go run when we do have kids, and so we can't just like both go at the same time. And then obviously you took it way more seriously, and I just was not feeling it.
yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this. Because I tried doing like the Peloton app and doing cardio there. I've tried doing all the different apps, Apple Fitness, like all of these, and nothing ever really like stuck for me in terms of cardio. And so I want to figure out how to get back into that. I am doing my steps again on my walking pad. So I've been trying to be better there. And then you and I, when was it? Probably September or October, you and I started working out together at home. And then I think probably around like a month or two into it, I made the mistake of telling you that I enjoyed working out with you. And so then you made it both of our habits to where every time you worked out, I was out there with you.
But it helps. It helps like having that buddy with you
It
type of
really
thing.
does, because I upped my weights today and I was clearly struggling, and you
And
were
that's
there like, but
fine.
you
That's
were there
fine. Like
encouraging me. You're like, "Oh, you got it. 4 more. You're doing it." And I was like, it gave me so much. I didn't tell you this in the moment, but like it gave me so much strength when you were like, "You've got this." And I'm like, "Do I?" But then I was able to do it, and I think it's nice because you have an accountability buddy. Like I have my friend Therese is my accountability buddy with getting our steps in every day.
yeah.
But then like working out with you, we're right there like pushing each other through it, and
Yeah.
that's been nice. So now I just need to get my eating to be healthier, because I have a sweet tooth. That's the thing, is like you don't have a sweet tooth and I do.
Yeah. I think that's definitely one of the things that you gripe about to me. You're
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, here, have this. I'm like, no, like, and it's not a thing of like me, like, oh, my diet, like I can't do that. I can't do it. It's just like I don't have a sweet tooth. And I do. I like certain sweet things, but not all the time.
Like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Not that sweet. But I will say I think this is the
Like a dark
healthiest.
chocolate, I would say.
I'm like a dark
Yeah.
chocolate, kind of bitter. Yeah, that's fair. I think this is the healthiest year that we have had, though, by far, in
Yeah,
terms of
I would.
being better. I think what I need to do, and here's where this may be a little bit self-serving. When we had things that I needed to look good for, I could crank it out, and I could do crunches for like 5 hours a day to get abs.
I would say yes. There was a lot of like beach travel this year, and I was like constantly motivated of like, okay,
Right.
I'm probably gonna have a picture shirtless, so I have to try to look as best as I can.
So as long as we have a cruise booked,
we have one coming up, so
we have a few cruises already booked this year. So I think maybe this will be the best year for us physically.
yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I'll just keep booking cruises for us. It'll be fine. Okay, so let's move on from physical health and taking care of yourself. What do you think were some of your other intentions?
To be more creative.
Yeah, that's a little bit more broad than what you had. You had to draw more specifically.
Oh, okay.
And I think you wanted to use that as like an outlet to be creative. Because
No,
it's
I didn't do that. I was horrible with that.
yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Um,
No, again, I think my main focus was, at the end was like my complete mental focus was on completing the marathon.
yeah,
It was
it
like
really
this
was.
hurdle that I had. And honestly, like now that it's done, I feel like such a weight lifted. Like just my own, its own, I did it to myself, right?
Yeah.
I signed up for it. I decided I was going to do it, but it was just like this self-imposed weight that now I feel lifted. And so I'm kind of like, okay, now I could do anything. I could do it whatever I want.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
PMA, positive mental attitude.
this thing, man, like if you haven't, I mean, it's like, I see it everywhere now. You told me once
I told you
PMA.
once, like 24 hours ago.
And now I'm seeing it everywhere. So, yeah, I
It's
guess.
the latest. It's probably been on TikTok for months, but we don't go to TikTok. So
Yeah.
who
Well,
even knows if TikTok's available
yeah.
right now when this comes out? So yours was to draw more. Mine was to level up sewing skills specifically.
How did
But
that go?
not good at all. And the conversation we had last year was that you stole that intention because that was the year that you had made all the jackets and all of the things. And I feel like you have definitely become the lead in our house when it comes to sewing. And I'm just very good at supporting you. Because it just comes naturally to you to be able to create in that way, and it's beautiful to watch. It's like when somebody can play music by ear and they just like everything clicks and they just go, and you're like, but I've got to read the pattern like 500 times and I have to read it like word by word as I'm doing this to try to get it right. And you're just like, yeah, well, if you just do this and it makes sense to you, your brain is focused in that way.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't do it. I did make my costume for MOSH EISLEY in Orlando, my Captain Kevin Black Parade, and I was very proud of that. That one was really good, but then I didn't sew anything else the entire year. I don't think I made anything else like from scratch like that. I've made like alterations.
You helped make do the painting and stuff.
Yeah,
We
so
did the helmets.
That's what I was gonna say in terms of creativity. Like we painted those helmets, and you and I did that together, and then we painted our Mando helmets.
Yeah,
and our armor for that. So we were creative last year because we had MOSH EISLEY's to create for versus Star Cruiser, which we had the previous year.
And I think I've talked about this like multiple times. Having that motivation to like, I got to create something for this event.
Yeah,
definitely is a motivator. Like you kind of like, okay, here's an event coming up. I want to make something for it. If it's a con, if it's a MOSH, it's a whatever. Like there's that motivation. But in general, if you don't have that kind of push for it, for me, or at least I don't have that motivation to do it.
Yeah.
So
that said,
because like, Star Cruiser was kind of like, oh, the next one I'm going to
Yeah.
is here's a new costume that I'm gonna try.
Well, and with Star Cruiser too, you had like 2 full days of costumes that you needed to put together. So we would go in and we would make 4 to 5 costumes for that one trip. With thankfully for MOSH EISLEY or even for a con, like you could do a costume a day for a con, but we're just not like at that level of cosplaying yet. But for MOSH, you're just making one costume.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing too is like the level of it, right? Star Cruiser was like you kind of went and made your own thing. When you go to a con, you're kind of, people expect characters that are already created, so you're trying to emulate those characters.
Yeah.
You can't just like make your own character and be like, I'm part of this world.
Right.
So I think that's the hard part.
But
and
you can't do that with MOSH though.
Yeah,
you have
MOSH
a lot
is like,
more
yeah.
freedom. Speaking of which, we leave for the next MOSH in like 2.5 weeks. How's your costume coming along?
It's almost done.
Yeah. Where, up here? Do you even know what you're
right
gonna...
here? That's where it's almost done. It's in my heart.
Oh, well, now I can't bag on you. You haven't started.
Again, it's
okay.
finished right here.
Okay.
I'm pointing to my heart. If you're listening,
I finally started on mine.
Yeah.
I did some like late night shopping, like panic shopping, and then I've gotten a bunch of stuff in. I think I found something that's gonna work. Needs a little bit of tweaking, but I think I'll be okay. I'm not gonna stress it too much.
Yeah. And that's it. I'm not stressing about it. So
yeah. I think so. I wanted to level up my sewing skills just because I'm so in awe of like you and all of these creator friends that can create these gorgeous things out of nothing and they look so well done. I just, I wish I could be that person, but I also know my limitations creatively and my time restrictions. And I just don't have that much time. I cannot prioritize the time to make something like that happen. And that's okay. And I have
Yeah.
learned, that was one of my big ones, was learning to not stress so much. Like managing my stress and setting boundaries, because when Star Cruiser was running, and I guess we'll go into my big one now, but when Star Cruiser was running, I was working like around the clock because we've got all of these things that we do, and I still have a full-time job, and there was just a lot going on, and so I would be multitasking and working like all of the time, and so my time management was crap. My sleep was awful. Like just I wasn't taking care of myself because I was trying to take care of others and like make dreams come true, and just like I loved it. I loved doing it. And then when it closed, we touched on it last year, so I'm not going to go into like this whole like pity party, but when it closed, I got really depressed and didn't realize that I was depressed. I was just like, things are fine, things are fine, things are fine. And I think I had like toxic positivity of like, we're going to figure it out. Things are going to work out. It'll be okay. Well, and I didn't realize that I was like drowning on the inside. And part of my journey last year and trying to take care of myself was to set more boundaries and not work until late hours of the night and spend more time with you and the kids and just like get back to what it was that really mattered to me before I started as a travel agent, and then try to find a balance in still doing travel work, still doing my full-time job, and then also just being present with like you and the kids. And I feel like it was a long journey. It was like last year was like, full disclosure, probably one of the toughest years of my life mentally, but I feel like I'm finally coming out of the other side of it and like reconnecting to who I was. Do I know what I want to do next? No, absolutely not. And I think I was so determined to take the success and the passion that I had with Star Cruiser and immediately pivot to something else, because there is this huge community and I think we all felt lost, and I wanted to be like, let me shepherd you, let me guide you, but I didn't know what I wanted, and I still don't really know what I want, but I'm learning that you don't have to have the answers. Like you just also need to just take care of yourself, and eventually the next thing will come. And so that's what I've been doing. Was just I'm working on myself. We've been working on our relationship
Yeah.
like a ton. I've been working on my relationship with the kids because
But I think a big thing was, from my perspective, is just the kind of realigning your priorities.
yeah.
And I think that was the thing, is like when you were busy and kind of spinning all the plates. Like there was, some plates that took back seat. And so it made it difficult.
Yeah.
But again, it's more of getting it figured out, which plates you got to spin, and then we go from there.
Yeah. And I think I don't know that I've lessened the amounts of plates that I'm spinning.
No, I don't think so.
I think I definitely in some aspects like coasted last year, and I didn't push in ways that I had been pushing before. Like, I used to post a whole lot on social media and really use that as marketing for travel. And I really didn't post that much last year because I was like, I wasn't finding joy in it. And then two, I just like, it took up too much time when I could be spending my time on other stuff. And so I think that's where
Well, I think it just becomes a grind of like, once you're posting, there's this sentiment of that you have to keep posting. And we've seen other people, and kind of like just recently Isabella had posted that Stargirl was kind of like on a break type of thing for like the holidays and stuff. But I kind of commented, I was like, it should be okay to take a break.
Yeah.
For anybody. Like if you need just like a break to realign things, that's okay. And there shouldn't be any like, oh, well, they're not putting anything out type of, feel to
Right.
it. Because like, just again, there's sometimes priorities that's not the highest priority.
Yeah. And it's weird. It's weird to go from doing one thing and I mean, before we had a podcast, before I was a travel agent, before any of that, like we just had our jobs and our kids and that was
Well,
it. And it just feels like life is so much more now and it got to be too
but
much.
I think that's the thing. It's like, it's again, it goes back to it's the priorities.
Yeah.
Because when you are single dating, you're kind of like, oh, like I have no time. I'm doing this, like I'm doing all these things.
Yeah.
Then you get married and you're like, oh, I can't believe I was saying that I didn't have any time. Then you have a kid and you're like, oh, I can't believe I was so foolish saying I had no time. Then you have another kid and you're like, yeah, I have no time. So it's like you're always saying that the grass is greener, but it's just taking those priorities and figuring out like, okay, what's more important, this or this, this or this,
Yeah.
and continuing forward from there.
Yeah. So I think I've compared to last year when we were having this conversation, I feel so much better about where I am. I definitely took a step back from a lot of things last year, but I'm getting back into putting energy where I want to put my energy.
That's good.
Yeah, I think so. So, okay, that was my big one. Really, well, that kind of like bundled all of mine into
All right.
into one.
So when we were gonna have this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you have something else.
I mean, you had a couple more, but we can circle back to
Well,
ours.
because the
Yeah.
question I wanted to kind of bring to the table.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about all our stuff, and then later on we'll talk about the upcoming stuff if we have new intentions.
Yeah.
But do you have like, what is your like high point of last year? Let me put you on the spot.
Seriously, I'm like, I could think of a lot of low points.
Well, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay. My high point. So I wrote down all of our highlights and our accomplishments last year, and I don't know which one of them I'm the proudest of. I feel like really this is going to be a weird one. I think it was going on a road trip with just the four of us. And we went to Dallas for Rebel Scum Con. But just getting to spend so much time together as a family. And I feel like, and even like, and then we went to Nashville like the next month for doing the escape games. But I feel like our kids have gotten old enough that we can actually go do these things together. And we all like meld together really well. We've gotten past the really baby stage. And it just, I don't know. I love being with our family, and it's like, I feel like that's my true passion right now. And so getting to spend time on vacation with our family and like away from the stresses of home life where you've got laundry and bills and all this other stuff. Like, I think Nashville. I think Nashville was my highlight. Yeah.
That's a good one.
What about you? What was yours?
I mean, I guess I was not thinking so sappy.
Sorry. I have plenty of others I could have
more
picked.
like, oh, let's, but like being able to do MOSH at San Diego again, like, that was super cool. And it's just kind of this feeling of like, it's a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's like super cool.
When we also got to do a panel.
at
San Diego Comic-Con, at the biggest comic convention in the
world.
world.
We didn't win, so that's not like the highlight. Being able to do like
panel,
another
though.
MOSH was like, okay, that's awesome. If we would have won or even got second, we were third of three.
We came in third place.
See, we went too sappy on that, and that's why we lost.
I'm sorry, I have emotions. Okay. One of the other highlights for me that's not so sappy was getting to go to the Roosevelt's headquarters and launch their May the 4th collection for Star Wars. That was super cool.
That was super dope, yeah.
It was us and Thank the Maker and Deano and then Chris Bartlett. And it was cool. It was just a you and me trip where we did leave the kids, I was going to say at home. They were cared for. But we got to go to the city. We got to go to a Bayside concert while we were there and just like hang out. And that was a fun one too.
Yeah, no, that was super cool.
Yeah. We had some really, really cool stuff
No,
happen last
yeah, I
year.
mean, that's like the top of a bunch of stuff
No, you know
because
what? I actually have one that may be higher than all of the things I just mentioned.
what's that?
When we did it was the first Good Journey, but the Wish Upon a Star Cruiser cruise, and I talked about it in the episode where we talked about that trip, but I knew on paper how many people were going to be there, but when we all gathered for that first group photo and I was up on the stage trying to like coordinate things and
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at how many people were coming, and then I turned around and there's 200 people there that I had helped organize, but really it's just like this ongoing community that all loves this one thing and all wanted to get together to like have this shared moment. Like I was so overwhelmed.
I think the wild thing to think is all this stuff is happening within this year. Like it feels like it's been such a long time, but it was like all within the year that all these things were happening.
Yeah.
I think that's the wild thing to think.
Yeah, no, we did so many things this year. I guess anytime there's like a measure of time like this, it feels like forever, and then it feels like
But again, I think that's great because we did a lot of things, but your main thing was doing those family trips. So
it was. I loved it. It
uh,
was, yeah. I love just bringing the kids along with us, and I'm very fortunate that we
we
get
can.
to do that.
Yeah.
So there were two more that you had from the previous years. I don't know
Let's
if
hear
these
it.
were things that you were going
Let's
to
see 'em.
do. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
They kind of go along. Being better, having better communication.
I'm I'm working on that. I think
Yeah.
I've been like continually working on that. So
I think so too. I think you and I are in a really good place when it comes to communication. We've always been in a really good place when it comes to communicating and how we're feeling. But I do feel like basically Star Cruiser ruined our lives. But when Star Cruiser ended, like truly things were just like chaotic and crazy, and everything just kind of spun out of control. And I think you and I were both trying to just like survive.
yeah.
And so we were taking care of ourselves and not really taking care of like each other as well, I guess is the best way to describe it. But I think we're doing like hugely better. I'm doing hugely better at like communicating rather than just like stewing and being mad and passive aggressive about something and being like, I need a minute because this.
Yeah.
And so I think we're doing well.
Yeah, I would say yeah.
The last one that you had was better time management and being organized.
No and no.
However, I do think this last year has been almost a journey of discovering that you have ADHD and learning how to manage that.
Yes, I think yes, I would agree with that.
Right. Whereas before it was almost like, well, why can't you do these things? Why can't you sit down and do a project like beginning to end and not break? And it was like, oh, because you can't focus for 4 hours on something. And so you're learning how to cope with that.
Yeah, and just be better about coming back to it or putting it up or do something with it.
Yeah. I think you and I still have both have
I mean, that's great. That's great that we still have a lot of learning because that just means that like we haven't stopped growing.
yeah. So I had one more on mine that was specific for 2024, and I feel like I absolutely failed at.
What's that?
Which was to focus more on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be super real talk. So the first year of the podcast, I was super jazzed about it. It was awesome. Star Cruiser was about to open. Things were great. We had tons of stuff to talk about. Year 2, I feel like we were trying to figure out like how do we not necessarily branch out, but like we didn't want to just talk about one thing. And so we were stumbling and trying to figure out like how do we bring in more Disney stuff, more Star Wars stuff, more things that we're excited about, except for just specifically like Star Wars at the theme parks. And then last year, I really wanted to focus and do different different types of videos and maybe change up our format and do some more stuff, post more on social media. And then I just I was in survival
We
mode
had a lot
last
more
year.
interviews last year.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I feel like we've slowed down on interviews.
Well, towards the end of the year we did, but
Yeah.
last year in general, I think we had more interviews with people. So it was like different conversations, not
Yeah.
just like our normal ones, because we were like pretty much every every other episode having an interview with somebody.
Oh,
But I think the thing is again, towards the end of the year, we started traveling a whole bunch.
then
So
it's impossible.
trying to get on other people's schedules.
Yeah.
So, and then
But
that's the hard thing for us is like when we have these conversations, they're pretty like up to date. So we don't like have any in the bank that we're just like, oh, there's an old conversation. Like we'll bring it, post it now.
yeah.
It's very much like within the week or two of us actually experiencing and whatever.
Yeah. Because we have a lot of stuff we want to do episodes on now, but because of just like the order that we need to do things in.
Yeah.
But we can't really like.
And again, it's just the travel, like trying to time it right with travel and get it edited and posted before we leave.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I wish I had focused more energy towards like growing the podcast and doing more with social media, but just social media felt like such a grind last year. And then I never really spent the time to like dedicate and say, okay, this is what I want to do. Like these are the additional things that I want to do with the podcast.
Well, hey, like this year, it'll be a little bit. There's one less social media that you probably have to worry about. So,
that's fair. But yeah, that's one of the things I want to do is I want to focus on the podcast more because I love it and I love doing this with you, and it's truly so much fun because we get to go travel and experience these things and then come back and talk about it, and I don't want that to stop, and so I want to keep putting energy towards this. But yeah, I absolutely failed last year, and so
well, I mean, it's definitely cool for like posterity. We could just like have a conversation. We could go back and look at it and like, oh yeah, like this was our thought. These were our thoughts when that happened.
yeah.
So
yeah, but yeah, that was my failure.
All right, it's okay.
What do you have for what's next for you for 2025? What do you want to do?
I want to continue. I want to make it a habit of, of the fitness of being healthy. So I don't want it to fall off. I don't want it to be a one time thing.
Yeah.
I don't have any huge goals that I want to accomplish.
You don't want to do the marathon next year? Because we're barely like a week out from you running the marathon.
At this point, and I told you, I was like, if you're asking me the day of, no, I cannot. I can barely walk. No, I don't know. I think I would need more incentive. Now that I've done it, there has to be something for me to motivate me, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you said if I did it with you, and I'm like,
yeah. I mean, if you did.
We tried that. That didn't work out.
But no, yeah, there's nothing at this point motivating me to do anything like that. So, it's more just keep continuing to stay with it and not just let it fall off. Keep it a habit type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Mine are to travel more, which we already travel like quite a lot, but I think I want to do different types of travel, not just going.
We're going to be traveling.
Yeah, I know.
Really far.
Really far. We are going to Japan in a few months. But just experiencing different things when we travel, because for many, many years now, we've just been going to specifically Walt Disney World. And so I want to do more than just theme park travel, maybe more cruising on different cruise lines, road trips. I think we've kind of maybe figured out that maybe we like road trips. We can tolerate them at least.
I think
we don't
our
hate
littlest likes them, but
I don't know if our oldest feels, but we'll see. So I'm just doing different stuff, just making the most of it and going out and exploring, like showing the kids the world, showing them that there's more out there than
that's super cool.
Where we live and Walt Disney World, because that's all. I think up until this year, for the most part, they'd never stayed at like a regular hotel. I'm like, dude, come on. And then I want to keep working on myself. I think I still have a lot. I think I have a lot of work to do in terms of my PMA.
There you go.
There
PMA.
we go.
It's gonna be the acronym of the year.
So travel more and see more of the world. Just working on myself mentally and getting to a better point, and then just continuing to prioritize our relationship and the family. And I think those are, I mean, I would love to be like, continue being successful with travel and with this podcast. Like if I had to sum it up, those are my 4 things. Oh, and the whatever,
All right,
the
you want
fitness
everything.
thing, the fitness. I
Just
want it all.
take it easy.
I
Take
want
it
it
easy.
all.
One thing at a time.
I can't do it. And I want a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Just I want to continue to be a better person, better than I've been.
That's good.
That's where I'm leaving that.
There you go. That's
I feel like I'm getting there. I feel really well. We came back. We traveled for New Year's and then we came back and then I immediately got sick and then you had the marathon. So it feels like we're barely starting the new year.
No,
like,
it does.
now. Yeah. But I'm feeling pretty optimistic about it right now. I feel like I'm in a really good like mental headspace. I feel like the fitness journey is going to be a thing for us this year.
You just take it one step at a time.
One step at a time. 10,000 steps a day.
There you go.
There we go. We've got it.
10,000 steps at a time.
All right. I think we've laid it out there.
That's it.
Yeah. That was the
So
year.
welcome back. Welcome back to you all.
Welcome back to you guys. This is going to be a fun year. I think we may try switching things up a little bit with what we talk about. Like this conversation was a little more loose. Just kind of.
Just doing our thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's to 2025.
Yeah. MOSH coming
yes.
up.
We're just going to
Mosh
point
Isley.
at you.
I'm pointing and telling you, go to MOSHisley.com. Go get a ticket. Come hang out with us in Orlando.
Yes, please, please. I think it's going to be so much fun. It's the same venue that we had it last year. It's Empire Strikes Back.
I heard there are some
themed.
DJs that you might like.
It's going to be a good time. Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. So if you are in the Orlando area, it's going to be February 7th at Sun on the Beach. And it's MegaCon weekend. So you can get your tickets at MOSH Isley.
Until next time.